Welcome back to another episode of Sports with Don, and I'm your host Ezra, aka the Don Mokhotsi. This is episode number 6. Today's episode is about squad depth. As we've seen, the PSL teams have come back. They've been training. Obviously, tests have been conducted, and there have been a few players who have tested positive. Wish them a speedy recovery. But today's topic, as I say, the squad depth. As we look at the PSL log, see where the teams are, which teams are going to end up where, and we're starting right at the bottom. We have Black Leopards, who are on 20 points from 24 games, and just above them are Amazulu, Baraka, and Polokwane, who are on 23 points. For me, I think Black Leopards is going to be gone, simply because they've been poor this season. But let's just hear from Lumko, right? Lumko, looking at these 4 teams, right, which one do you think will survive and which one will get the job?
First things first, I'm just happy to have the league proposed to be back. That's just the first thing I'm happy about. But yeah, let's discuss the teams at the bottom for now. Looking at what you just said, you said 3 teams are currently tied on 23 points. Firstly, I wouldn't necessarily say Black Leopards are as good as gone, because if you look at the log table, they're on 20 points and the teams above them are on 23 points, which are 3 teams above them on 23 points, and with about 6 games remaining in the season, those are a lot of points at stake. So I wouldn't necessarily say Black Leopards are as good as gone, and so I don't think it's all done and dusted for Leopards and we can say that they will go down. No, I think the teams, from actually, when you look at the table, from the team that is at 11th position going downwards, they all have a chance to be relegated. And as we know in the PSL, one team automatically gets relegated, whilst the team that finished in 15th goes into the playoffs. So I wouldn't necessarily say Black Leopards are done and dusted. Amazulu, Chipa, even Stellenbosch can still go down, because if you look at the table, there's not a lot separating the teams at the bottom. There's just not much to separate them. But as for who I think might go down, shockingly, I feel like Polokwane City might be the team to get the drop. I feel like Black Leopards will surprise a lot of people. Amazulu as well. They've been poor, to say the very least, and that's being nice. And they have the likes of Bong and Duli in their ranks, and Duli has been one of the top goal scorers in the season. So they can also make it up the table. So it will depend on who is more hungry to stay up, and it will depend on the coaches and the tactics on how they're implemented after the lockdown, because you have to remember, after the lockdown, form goes out the window. It doesn't matter how badly you played or how well you played, form doesn't exist. It's like a new season now. Everyone starts on a fresh new page, except you keep the points that you have. So it will depend on who wants it more, to be honest. But I feel like from position 11 up until 16, they can still get the drop.
Ye say Polokwane, I say Black Leopards, but we shall see how that battle goes. Black Leopards do have experienced players like their captain Thabo Matlaba. He was playing for London Pirates, so his experience could come into play in these last games. But for me, I don't see it happening. As we move on right above the table, we're looking at the top 8. We know a lot of PSL teams want to end up in the top 8 simply because they want to play in the MTN 8. And obviously, the higher you are, the better, the money when it comes to paying at the end of the season. But looking at teams that are on 9, 8, 7, you look at your Golden Arrows, you look at your Bloemfontein Celtics, you look at your Highlands Park, you look at your Cape Town City, which team do you think will end up in the top 8?
Every team in the PSL aims to get into the top 8, like you said, rightly so, because there's the MTN8 to look forward to. It's a club competition that only the top 8 teams get to play in, and you can win yourself a cool 8 million rands. Nothing too much, just 8 million. So a lot of teams in the PSL push for that position, for that one competition, to be specific. And when you look at the log table, the team from Golden Arrows up until Stellenbosch all have a chance to make their claim for the top 8. Golden Arrows, they have a very good coach in Steve Compella. Steve will drive that team hard and will demand their players to give their absolute best all the time. So I actually do see Arrows making top 8. Stellenbosch, to be totally honest with you, I don't think they have enough squad depth to actually compete for the top 8. I don't actually see them. I actually envision them struggling after the restart. We recently read that Morgan Gold has terminated his contract with the club, so they're already losing quality players. Players with that much experience to guide them through such challenges. Players that have been there, done that. Like already mentioned, Morgan Gold. His contract was ended and it wasn't renewed, so he left the club. So I don't necessarily think Stellenbosch has enough in their locker to actually challenge for the top 8. Another team I'd like to mention is Cape Town City. I feel like with the squad they have, they should be right up there challenging for the league, to be honest. If you look at the caliber of players that they have and the position they find themselves in the log table, it's very disappointing because they have international players in their ranks, like Kermit Erasmus, one of our best strikers in South Africa. They have Ralani, very, very tricky player. They have a quality players, Cape Town City. I'm actually jealous of their squad. They don't have like a team, they have a proper squad, and for the position they find themselves in, it's very disappointing. But I feel like with that squad, they can make a push, for the top 8.
I totally agree with you when it comes to Cape Town City. The amount of talent they have in their squad, they should not be battling for just to get into the top 8. They should be there in the top 4. But speaking of the top 4, obviously at number 1 we have Kaizer Chiefs, number 2 Mamelodi Sundowns, number 3 SuperSports, and number 4 Orlando Pirates. SuperSports and Orlando Pirates mathematically can still win the league, but I think it's just up to the top 2 guys right now. According to you, right, just looking also at the squad depth of these 4 teams and just look at how they played, before the whole COVID situation, who do you think will be the champions?
That's a tricky one because I'm a diehard Chiefs supporter, so my answer may be viewed as biased, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to be biased on this show. We're going to give you facts, and the fact is there are 4 teams, to be honest, that are in with a chance of being champions. We're talking Kaizer Chiefs, obviously, Sundowns, Pirates still have a chance. Pirates still have a chance, unfortunately, and SuperSports. Those teams have a chance to actually win the league, because if you look at the log standings, Chiefs and Sundowns, they're not separated by much. Sundowns has a game in hand over Chiefs, so there are a lot of teams that still have more games than Chiefs. And let's look at Pirates for starters. Pirates is in currently 4th position. They have a new coach Zimbabwe, and they have a very, very decent squad. Pirates has a very decent squad, and Coach Zimbabwe has really transformed the way Pirates play. So if Pirates put in a good run, they could unfortunately be champions. This is coming from a Chiefs fan. They could be champions. Pirates can actually surprise a lot of people. When you look at Sundowns, they probably have the best squad in the country, hands down. The quality that Sundowns has is unmatched. I'm talking about the entire squad. If you look at the players that are benching, they would literally start for any other team. If you look at the players that didn't even make the 18-man squad, they'll start for about 80% of the teams in the PSL, and that's the strength that Sundowns has. So I feel like Sundowns, especially now that they have a game in hand, Sundowns have a very, very good chance of winning the league, given the quality of players they have. As for Kaizer Chiefs, as a Chiefs supporter, I obviously would want them to win the league, but I have to be realistic. It's not going to be easy. It's not straightforward. We have a decent coach in Coach Ernest Middendorp. His tactics over the season have been good somewhat and have obviously been questionable in some games. The quality that we have is not the same when it comes to matching player for player, especially if we're talking about a team like Sundowns. The players that we have are good, but if they're compared to Sundowns, they're not really that great in terms of squad depth. So Chiefs will really have to be in decent form. Chiefs will really have to be in decent form if they want to win the league. Like, as soon as the league starts, they have to push each and every game. Castro, Nurkovic have to be up there delivering the goals, you know. Unfortunately, George Malulega has left, so we lost some decent quality in midfield, but I'm sure the likes of Bacchus will step up, you know, and we can actually make a strong push for the league. And like I already mentioned, the other team is Super Sports. In the previous video, we spoke about players they have like Sipho Mbule. I mean, that just screams out quality, you know. Unfortunately for them, Dean Furman has left, so they've also lost a few players. But for me, it's a 4-horse race to win the team that are in the top 4 can literally win the league.
Listen, bro, I hear the Mamelodi Sundowns chat, right? But Orlando Pirates, I know mathematically they can still win the league, but Orlando Pirates,
I know it's just a mathematical chance, but we have to be realistic. Pirates might win the league, you know. Pirates might win the league. They've been playing superbly well under the new coach, Zimbabwe. That German tactician, he's been excellent for Pirates, you know. So they might actually surprise a lot of people. And when you look at the players that they have, my goodness, I'm a huge fan of Vincent Pule. They have quality players there, you know, and they can literally win the league. So it pains me to say this from a Chiefs supporter, but Pirates might definitely win the league.
Fair point. The coach has, you know, he came with another style, and Orlando Pirates fans seem to be enjoying that. You know, they started winning games again. But now, speaking of Orlando Pirates, you know, their top goal scorer Mahango is right up there. You know, but who do you think will end up getting the Golden Boot?
I honestly think it's between like the ones at the top at the moment, and when you look at the top goal scorers chart at the moment, it's topped by Kabadini Mahango, followed by Bongi Ntuli, as well as Bradley Hrobler. Kabadini Mahango has 14 league goals. Hrobler and Ntuli have 12, as well as Shaolile has 12, and then you have Mutizwa and Nurkovic stuck at 11 apiece, you know. So it's between that lot, you know, to be totally honest. I don't think any other player besides them can possibly win it, because there's like 6 games remaining in the season. But honestly speaking, Kabadino Mahango is like the clear favorite to win. If he continues the form that he was on before the league was stopped, then yeah, sure, he is the favorite. But like I said, it's between that lot, to be honest. Nurkovic, Mutizwa, Hrobla, Shaolile, Bongi Ntuli, and Mahango. They all stand a good chance of winning. So I think it's also a 6-horse race for the Golden Boot, and it's going to be interesting who actually ends up getting it.
With 6 more games, it'll be interesting to see who actually gets the Golden Boot. You know, if Orlando Pirates does continue the form that they left with before COVID, you know, Mahango might just take it, and he could even score more than just what he has already now. Hobla also might just come up and just, you know, take it just right underneath Mahango's nose. But shout out to you for watching until this point. Tell a friend that we dropped this episode number 6. Do me a little favor, this thing right here, click on it and go subscribe, and please check out the other videos that we dropped. Shout out to you again.